champ now. Yes, I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, champ?
I'm surprised. I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well played. One time during my career, I was on a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, the World Boxing Association has the family today. It's Thursday, getting late in this big week of boxing history. Ray Patterson in the building. What's up, RP? Good to see you today. Salute. We're going to be talking about the World Boxing Association. The National Boxing Association, World Boxing Association, because it started out as the National Boxing Association. History, all kinds of things about the World Boxing Association. It has a family today. We got a lot to get to, so let's get on into our fight of the day immediately today. A lot of information going to be given out this afternoon. So without further ado, today's fight of the day. Okay. Today's fight of the day is Jack Dempsey versus Georges Carpenter, July 2nd, 1921. The first $1 million gate in boxing history. Dempsey versus Carpenter, July 2nd, 1921. The first $1 million gate. All right. 105 years ago. It was the very first $1 million gate. It was the historic Jack Dempsey Georges Carpenter fight, July 2nd, 1921. The first world title fight, one of the first world title fights to be broadcast on radio. This fight of the century really did usher in the new era of boxing. Shrewdly, if not callously, promoted by Tex Rickard, who got every cent he could from the draft dodger versus war hero angle. Frenchman Carpenter having served in World War I, Dempsey having not done so. The fight was truly a monster event. Too big for a conventional boxing arena, Rickard had Boyle's 30 acres constructed in Jersey City, New Jersey. Over 80,000 paying fans showed up that Saturday night, over a century ago. Rickard, who had borrowed money to make the fight to the tune of 250,000 pounds, this a gargantuan sum of money in 1921, got the money back and then some. Tickets sold for $50 down to $5. After the enormous success of the fight, Tex lamented the fact that he had not charged fans more for a ticket. Dempsey earned $300,000 while Carpenter got $100,000, with both men getting a 25% share of the broadcast rights. Okay, 300,000, and 100,000 in 1921. That's probably millions nowadays. Now, Dempsey came into the fight 50 wins, 4 losses, 9 draws with 42 knockouts, and the reigning world heavyweight champion since July of 1919. He faced Carpenter, came in 81 wins, 11 losses, 5 draws, 52 knockouts. And Carpenter was the ruling light heavyweight champion of the world at the time. It was the Manasseh Mauler versus the Orchid Man. Dempsey outweighed his challenger by a considerable margin at 190 pounds, 274 pounds for Carpenter. Rickard feared a Dempsey blowout, and he asked Jack to go easy on the little Frenchie. Dempsey obliged, and he was cracked by a right hand to the head from the smart counter-punching Frenchman, this in the second round. Dempsey shrugged off the effects of the blow, and then he went to work. Mike Rem in the building. Salute Mike Rem. Fight of the day, Jack Dempsey versus Georges Carpenter, 1921. First $1 million gate. Salute Mike Rem. World Boxing Association today. Okay, so then Dempsey went to work. Dempsey's legendary pressure, power, and savagery got the better of the game Carpenter in the 4th round. Decked twice, Carpenter took the full brunt of Dempsey's raw power. It was all over after just over 1 minute of the 4th round. The fight pulled in well over $1 million, a reported $1,789,238 to be exact. And Rickard never looked back. Jack Dempsey fights, if promoted with the right angle, were big business back at that time. Following the Dempsey Carpenter fight were $4 more million purses, gates. $4 more million gates. With Dempsey Louis Angel Firpo, Dempsey Gene Tunney 1, Dempsey Jack Sharkey, and Dempsey Gene Tunney 2, all generating way over $2 million. All generating way over $2 million. Dempsey was the first genuine boxing superstar, while Ricard was the first of his kind as a boxing promoter. Both Dempsey and Carpenter are true fistic legends, and both men enjoyed massive popularity until their deaths. Dempsey passing in 1983, Carpenter in 1985. There they are. There they are. Carpenter on the left, Dempsey on the right. And of an additional note, Dempsey Carpenter was the first championship fight sanctioned by the WBA. Of course, then it was the NBA. But the first championship fight sanctioned by the National Boxing Association / World Boxing Association. And today, the National Boxing Association / World Boxing Association is the subject of today's show. So let's get into it. The World Boxing Association today. All right. How's everybody this afternoon? It's Thursday, late in this week of boxing history. Okay. Okay. My display a little messed up, but we'll figure it out. Okay, bear with me for one moment. Wow, some pictures done disappeared. I believe I deleted something, but that's okay. But the World Boxing Association today. Okay, let's get into today's show. Yeah, I deleted a picture. I don't know how, but I did it. Okay. The World Boxing Association. Okay. Now, the World Boxing Association, WBA, is a major sanctioning organization in professional boxing. Established in 1921 as the National Boxing Association in the United States to regulate and govern boxing championships. Now, renamed the WBA in 1962 to reflect its international scope, it remains the oldest of the four primary boxing bodies today, sanctioning world titles across 17 weight classes and overseeing rankings, rules, and mandatory defenses. The organization has certified historic achievements, including crowning Bob Fitzsimmons as the first three-division world champion in the late 19th century, under the predecessor framework, and sanctioning fights for icons like Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Roberto Duran. Despite its longevity and role in legitimizing pro boxing, the WBA has faced persistent criticism for creating multiple champion tiers such as super, regular, interim, and regional titles, which proliferated to over 90 belts by the 2010s, diluting the prestige of its world championships and prioritizing sanctioning fees over unified titles. In response to financial pressures and backlash from promoters and fans, the WBA announced plans in 2021 to reduce titles, retaining only super and regular designations while phasing out interims, though implementation has been uneven. Allegations of corruption, including favoritism in rankings and title assignments, have further eroded trust, with independent boxing analysts highlighting inconsistencies compared to bodies like the WBC. These issues stem from the sanctioning model's reliance on voluntary compliance and fees, leading to governance challenges absent in more centralized sports. Okay, so the founding in the early years now of the NBA/WBA. Okay, let's take a look at that. Founding of this organization in its early years. It was established as the National Boxing Association. Okay? Now, the National Boxing Association, or NBA, was established on January 13th, 1921, in Providence, Rhode Island, by representatives from 13 U.S. state athletic commissions, seeking to standardize boxing regulation amid fragmented state-level oversight. This formation addressed the dominance of the New York State Athletic Commission, which had centralized control over major fights, but alienated other states through restrictive policies, particularly following the controversial 1919 heavyweight title fight between Jack Dempsey and Jess Willett in Toledo, Ohio, a fight not universally recognized due to procedural disputes over Willett's championship status and notice requirements. William A. Gavin, a boxing promoter at the time, played a pivotal role in founding the NBA as a voluntary association of non-New York commissions to promote uniform rules, sanction titles, and revive the sport, which faced post-World War I bans, scandals, and declining popularity in several regions. The NBA's creation marked a shift toward national coordination, excluding New York to avoid the veto power over interstate events, and initially comprised commissions from states including Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, with membership expanded to 17 states by mid-1921. Its charter emphasized fair competition, fighter welfare, and consistent championship recognition, contrasting with ad hoc state approvals that had previously led to rival claimants in weight classes like heavyweight. In its debut year, the NBA sanctioned the July 2nd, 1921 heavyweight title fight between Dempsey and George S. Carpenter in Jersey City, New Jersey, which was our fight of the day. And this fight drew over 90,000 spectators and generated record gate receipts of approximately $1.2 million, which bolstered boxing's commercial resurgence. Early governance under the NBA included quarterly ratings of contenders and mandatory title defenses, establishing precedents for modern sanctioning bodies, though enforcement relied on member states' cooperation rather than legal authority. by its first annual convention in New Orleans on January 19, 1922, the organization had formalized bylaws for weigh-ins, round limits, and medical oversight, influencing broader adoption of the Marquess of Queensberry rules nationwide. These steps positioned the NBA as boxing's primary arbiter outside New York, sanctioning unified champions across divisions and fostering international fights by the mid-1920s, despite ongoing tensions with the New York State Athletic Commission that persisted until partial reconciliation in the 1930s. Okay, so renaming to the World Boxing Association. Okay? Renaming to the World Boxing Association. There's their belt right there. Okay, renaming to the WBA, World Boxing Association now. Okay? The National Boxing Association, originally formed in 1921 to regulate professional boxing within the United States, changed its name to the World Boxing Association at its annual convention in 1962. This rebranding reflected the organization's expanding international role as pro boxing had grown beyond American borders, with increasing participation from foreign fighters and sanctioning bodies joining as affiliates. A secondary impetus was the rising prominence of the National Basketball Association, unrelated to boxing, which had achieved widespread visibility through network television broadcasts in the early 1960s, creating potential for public confusion over the shared acronym NBA. The name change formalized the body's aspiration to serve as a universal authority for world championships, aligning its identity with the sport's global competitions rather than its initial national scope. Yeah, NBA, National Basketball Association, had a little to do with the name change too because of those initials. NBA, right? Okay. So let's look at the organizational evolution of the WBA. The organizational evolution. Okay. Yeah, organizational evolution. Now, mid-20th century expansion. Mid-20th century expansion. The National Boxing Association, established in 1921, primarily to regulate boxing within the United States, began experiencing pressures for internationalization in the post-World War II era as the sport's popularity extended beyond American borders. During the 1950s, advancements in media and transportation, particularly the widespread adoption of television for live fight broadcasts and the onset of commercial jet travel in 1958, enabled more frequent international competitions and exposed non-U.S. audiences to NBA-sanctioned world title fights. This period saw the NBA overseeing defenses and contests involving fighters from Europe, Latin America, and other regions, such as Gene Foreman's 1957 middleweight title win recognized by the organization, which underscored the de facto global scope despite its national name. The formal expansion materialized on August 23, 1962, when NBA representatives convened with 11 delegates from international boxing commissions in San Juan, Puerto Rico, to rename the body the World Boxing Association. This rebranding explicitly acknowledged boxing's worldwide growth and facilitated the admission of foreign national commissions as full members, transitioning from a United States-centric model initially comprising 13 state bodies to a supranational regulator. The change aimed to unify disparate global commissions under standardized rules, addressing the causal increases in cross-border talent and events that had rendered the national designation obsolete by the late 1960s. This led to the crowning of inaugural champions from countries like Venezuela, Brazil, and Thailand in various divisions. Yeah, all those three countries had their first ever world champion in the 60s. Okay, so key sanctioned fights and milestones. We look at some key sanctioned fights and milestones. The inaugural World Heavyweight Championship fight, sanctioned by the National Boxing Association, occurred on July 2nd, 1921, pitting Jack Dempsey against Georges Carpenter at Boyle's 30 Acres in Jersey City, New Jersey. Dempsey secured victory by a knockout in the fourth round, claiming 40,000 in attendance, 90,000 in attendance, generated the first $1 million gate in boxing history, while the event marked one of the sport's initial radio broadcasts, reaching an estimated audience of millions. This fight established the organization's foundational role in pro boxing governance, with Dempsey recognized as the first official heavyweight champion under its auspices. Okay? Following the 1962 rebranding to World Boxing Association, the body sanctioned pivotal heavyweight defenses, including Sonny Liston's unanimous decision victory over Floyd Patterson on September 25, 1962 in Comiskey Park, Chicago, where Liston claimed the title by first round knockout before 17,000 spectators. The Liston defended the WBA belt against Patterson again on July 22, 1963 in Las Vegas, securing a first-round knockout and retaining recognition amid emerging rival organizations. Cassius Clay, later Muhammad Ali, captured the WBA heavyweight crown by defeating Liston on February 25, 1964 in Miami Beach by a 6-round technical knockout, unifying it with other major belts before 8,297 fans. A defining milestone unfolded in 1967 when the WBA stripped Ali of the heavyweight title due to his draft refusal, initiating an 8-man elimination tournament to crown a successor. Jimmy Ellis prevailed as champion after outpointing Leotis Martin over 15 rounds on December 9th, 1968 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I remember Joe Frazier did not participate in this tournament in support of Ali. Joe Frazier won the WBA belt, took it from Jimmy Ellis after the tournament. Now, this event underscored the organization's independent authority amid political controversies, with Ellis defending against Jerry Corey by a 15-round decision on July 26, 1969, before 10,243 at the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, California. The WBA further sanctioned the fight of the century on March 8, 1971 at Madison Square Garden, where Joe Frazier defeated Ali by unanimous decision over 15 rounds to unify the WBA and WBC titles before 20,000 370 spectators, solidifying the organization's prominence in era-defining clashes. Okay, there's Pennywise Sewer Drain again today. Salute. Glad to have you back, Pennywise. Salute. Appreciate your subscription yesterday. Pennywise, salute. Okay, we're looking at World Boxing Association today. Okay, so in the 1970s, the WBA endorsed the Rumble in the Jungle on October 30th, 1974 in Kinshasa, Zaire, where Ali reclaimed the heavyweight title by 8th round knockout against George Foreman, drawing a global audience estimated at 1 billion by satellite broadcast. Ali defended the WBA belt in the Thriller in Manila against Joe Frazier on October 1st, 1975 in Quezon City in the Philippines, winning by corner retirement after 14 rounds amid extreme heat before 24,800 fans. Later, Mike Tyson captured the WBA heavyweight title on March 7th, 1987 in Las Vegas, Nevada, stopping James Bone Crusher Smith in the first round by technical knockout, extending Tyson's streak to 30 consecutive victories and advancing his unification efforts. Okay. The infamous rematch between Evander Holyfield and Tyson on June 28, 1997 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas saw Tyson disqualified in the third round for biting Holyfield's ear twice during their WBA heavyweight title fight, attended by 16,103 and viewed by millions, prompting regulatory scrutiny and Tyson's temporary license revocation. These sanctioned events highlight the WBA's central role in boxing's commercial and competitive evolution, though title fragmentation later diluted some prestige. Okay, let's look at the governance and operations now of the WBA. Governance and operations. Leadership structure and presidents. There's the current president of the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza. Okay. And he just got reelected for another 5-year term in last year, 2025 to 2030 now. Gilberto Mendoza. Okay. Leadership structure and presidents. Now, the World Boxing Association's leadership is headed by a president who oversees sanctioning decisions, rankings, championship policies, and international operations, reporting to the General Assembly of National Federation delegates, while directing vice presidents and executive secretary and committees for championships, ratings, and medical affairs. The vice president assists in executive functions and assumes duties in the president's absence, while the executive secretary manages administrative and legal matters. Specialized committees, such as the Championships Committee, handle title fights and contender evaluations, ensuring alignment with the organization's statutes. As of October 2025, Gilberto Jesus Mendoza holds the presidency, having succeeded his father, Gilberto Mendoza Sr., upon the latter's death on March 11, 2016, from cancer after a 34-year tenure beginning in 1982. The elder Mendoza, a Venezuelan boxing promoter, centralized authority during his leadership, relocating the headquarters to Venezuela before its later move to Panama in 2007, and expanded the organization's global reach amid growing title dissensions. His son, elected by the Assembly, has maintained continuity, emphasizing digital rankings and youth programs while facing calls for structural reforms. Prior to the Mendoza era, the presidency featured shorter terms, dominated by Latin American figures, following the 1962 renaming from the National Boxing Association to World Boxing Association, reflecting the shift from United States-centric origins. Gustavo Garrido Cordoba served from 1963 to 1976, overseeing early international expansion. He was succeeded by Fernando Mandri Galindez until 1982. Earlier NBA presidents from 1921 onward were predominantly American, with figures like Richard T. Sullivan, 1922 to 1923. Richard T. Sullivan was the first president, and Latrobe Cogswell, 1924 to 1925, managing domestic heavyweight focus amid antitrust pressures that prompted the name change. This evolution underscores a transition to perpetual leadership under select individuals, contrasting the rotational presidencies in peer organizations like the WBC. Affiliated regional organizations. Okay. Let's show some pictures of some WBA championship fights. That was Curry, Antron Russell, and Rayo right there. Okay. So affiliated regional organizations. Wow. Okay. The World Boxing Association coordinates with affiliated regional boxing organizations to oversee pro fights, rankings, and intermediate titles outside its core world championships. These entities apply WBA rules locally, sanction regional defenses, and identify prospects for elevation to global contention, fostering development across geographies, while maintaining sanctioning fees and standards aligned with the parent body. As of 2024, affiliations emphasize areas with active professional scenes, though the structure has evolved to include both independent regional federations and WBA branded continental arms. Prominent affiliates include the North American Boxing Association, the NABA, founded in 1997 and explicitly affiliated with the WBA, which governs titles across the United States, Canada, and parts of Mexico through events sanctioned under WBA oversight. The NABA rankings, updated monthly as of October 2024, feed directly into WBA continental evaluations. In Latin America, the Federación Latinoamericana de Boxeo handles sub-regional titles like feathered Latin belts, supporting WBA Continental Americas championships that cover South and Central America, with fights often held in venues such as Venezuela and Colombia. The Pan-African Boxing Association, PANAF, GANAF, sanctions Pan-African titles, promoting fights in nations like South Africa and Nigeria to bridge local talent to WBA Supercontinentals. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, T. Hill? Looking at the World Boxing Association today, T. Hill. Right now, we're just looking at some affiliated organizations around the world. Okay, let's salute Thomas Hill. Okay, let's continue. In Asia and Oceania, the Pan-Asian Boxing Association, the PABA, affiliates manage titles across countries including Thailand, Japan, and the Philippines, with conventions like the 2025 WBA Asia event in Suzhou, China, highlighting growth in regional infrastructure. WBA Oceania oversees Pacific Island and Australian circuit. The Caribbean Professional Boxing Federation, or they focus on island nations, sanctioning belts contested in events like the October 25th, 2025 super middleweight title fight in Miami. These organizations report to WBA regional directors, such as Stanley Cristaldo for Africa and Ferlin Marsh for Oceania, and contribute to unified rating system. Though critics note occasional discrepancies in alignment with global WBA criteria. Okay, so now let's look at the championship system of the WBA, World Boxing Association. Championship system. So the original unified championship model. That's I believe that's Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney again. Okay. Okay. Unconquest in the building. Salute. Salute Unconquest. Good to see you today. Okay. That's what I'm gonna say, Madoff. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the original championship model. Now, the National Boxing Association, predecessor to the World Boxing Association, and founded on February 18th, 1921 by representatives from 13 U.S. states, boxing commissions, instituted a championship framework designed to recognize precisely one world champion per weight division. Okay, and it was like that for a while, because they originally wanted one world champion per weight division. This system addressed pre-existing consistencies among disparate state regulators by centralizing authority over title recognitions, rankings, and fight sanctions, with the inaugural event being the July 2nd, 1921 heavyweight clash between Jack Dempsey and Georges Carpenter, where Dempsey retained his status as the sole recognized champion. And Dempsey was already the champion, but that's when he became the official first heavyweight champion recognized by official sanctioning body, the 1921 fight with Carpenter. This model's core principle rested on empirical outcomes of sanctioned fights, mandating periodic defenses against challenges elevated from official ratings compiled by a committee assessing records, recent performances, and head-to-head results, thereby prioritizing causal determinants of skill and endurance over subjective favoritism. Okay, that's how it started out, but we're far from that now, 2025, okay? Now, under this verified paradigm, which the NBA rebranded as the WBA in 1962 to reflect its international scope, title vacancies triggered tournaments or eliminator fights, culminating in a singular successor, as seen in heavyweight successions from Dempsey to Gene Tunney in 1926 and beyond. Okay? Champions face structured obligations, including defenses within defined intervals, typically 9 months initially, to prevent indefinite holds, ensuring the title's prestige derived from active competition rather than the stasis. This approach maintained a streamlined hierarchy across division, from flyweight to heavyweight, where the WBA's endorsement conferred de facto global legitimacy, absent rival sanctioning bodies until the 1960s, fostering a meritocratic standard verifiable through fight records and outcomes. The Drunk Irishman in the building. Salute Drunk Irishman. National Boxing Association / World Boxing Association today. Same organization, but changed names in 1962. When boxing started to become so international, they went from national to world. Now, the unified model's efficacy hinged on transparent rating methodologies and enforcement of mandatory challenges, minimizing opportunities for stagnation or undue influence. Though early disputes among commissions occasionally tested adherence. By design, it embodied a first mover governance structure that consolidated fragmented authority into a cohesive system, evidenced by consistent single title reigns, documented in divisional histories, prior to the emergence of competing organizations like the WBC in 1963. This framework persisted as the nomadic standard through much of the 20th century, underpinning the WBA's claim to representational primacy in pro boxing. So here we go with the emergence and expansion of multiple titles. Emergence and expansion of multiple titles now. In April of 1998, the World Boxing Association approved the creation of interim championship titles during an executive committee meeting, marking the initial departure from its original model of a single champion per weight class. These interim belts were intended to designate a temporary title holder when the undisputed champion was sidelined by injury, legal issues, or inability to defend within a specified period, typically 18 months, allowing the organization to maintain activity in the division without vacating the primary title. The first such title was awarded in the super middleweight division shortly thereafter, setting a precedent that expanded to other weights as vacancies arose. So the first interim was in 1998 in the super middleweight division. I don't know who that person was, but yeah, that was the first year when they brought interims in, and then it's expanded to other divisions. Now the system further proliferated in December 2000 with the introduction of the super champion designation. And so here we go. Interim came in 1998, then 2 years later in 2000, and it come with the super. Okay? So 2000, they introduced the super champion designation, which split the heavyweight and other divisions by recognizing WBA title holders who also unified belts from at least one other major sanctioning body, such as the WBC, IBF, or WBO. This innovation formalized to honor multi-organizational champions while preserving their status necessitated the parallel creation of a regular champion title for the previous or subsequent WBA title holder in the same weight class, effectively doubling title holders per division. Okay, so they came up with the super. So then, whoever was the current champion, they had to designate them regular. But why did they need the super in the first place, right? So this created doubling the champions in weight divisions. Now, when you came up with the super, you already had a champion, so they started calling them the regular champion. Okay? So that effectively doubled the title holders per division, because they did this in every division. Now, the super title debuted in divisions like junior welterweight with Kasia Tszyu, who held WBA, WBC, and IBF belts, and quickly extended to welterweight, super welterweight, and beyond by 2001. Yeah, so that was crazy. Good and crazy. Now, Kasia Tszyu, yeah, he was the first one designated as a super champion in 2000. Expansion accelerated in the mid-2000s as the WBA applied the super regular framework to additional weight classes, often in response to unification fights or prolonged champion inactivity, leading to simultaneous super, regular, and interim title holders in some divisions. What they should have did when they had those prolonged champion inactivity, they should have just stripped them. Instead of making those other designations, just strip them and have the other top contenders fight for the title. But instead of stripping them, they made another person in the division a regular or the super. And you know what that was all about, right? More sanctioning fees. Whatever designation you got champion in front of your name, you're going to pay some sanctioning fees. That's why they didn't just strip them and let some other body fight for the title. But that would have been the best thing to do, right? Prolonged inactivity after a certain amount of time, just strip them. But no, they let them still be champion, but designated somebody else as the regular or the super. Yeah. Or the super and made the person previous that's currently champion the regular. But that was just about getting more money. Now you're getting sanctioning fees from two people. By 2011, the heavyweight division exemplified this proliferation when the WBA elevated Vladimir Klitschko to super champion status after his unification pursuits, inaugurating a regular title contested by Alexander Povetkin against Ruslan Chargayev in August of that year. It is, let's see. There's Povetkin and Chargayev right there. Right here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this pattern repeated across 17 weight classes, resulting in up to 3 or 4 concurrent WBA recognized champions per weight class by the early 2010s, with interims frequently awarded to bridge gaps between mandatory defenses. The policy justified by the WBA as accommodating global boxing's fragmentation and ensuring continuous contention correlated with increased sanctioning fees, but due internal acknowledgement of over-proliferation by 2015. But this thing like that was fragmenting it more, you know? And of course, there it is. Increased sanctioning fees. That was the whole idea in the first place. So now let's talk about the controversies and the criticism then from this nonsense. Okay? Controversies and criticisms. Controversies and criticism. Okay? There's the Drunk Irishman's link. Everybody hit that. Subscribe to the Drunk Irishman. Great channel. Okay, controversies and criticisms. These just some WBA fights there. That's Thomas Hearns, Pepino Cuevas. Hearns' first title was the WBA. I believe it was 81 when he beat Cuevas. Mm-hmm. Now, title fragmentation and prestige dilution. We're going to talk about some of the controversies and criticism. Title fragmentation and prestige dilution. The World Boxing Association introduced interim championships in April 1998 to address situations where the primary champion was unable to defend due to injury or inactivity, allowing a temporary title holder to step in until the unification or resolution occurred. This mechanism initially aimed to maintain activity in divisions, but evolved into a persistent feature enabling multiple title holders simultaneously and contributing to the proliferation of belts across weight classes. By the early 2000s, the practice had expanded beyond emergencies, with interim titles often awarded through sanctioned fights that generated sanctioning fees for the organizations. So they started awarding interims even if the regular champion was able to fight, right? The interim at first was originally supposed to be if the regular champion was injured or inactive. But then they started enjoying those extra sanctioning fees. They started in other divisions awarding interims even when the regular champion was actively fighting, competing. Still started giving out interims. Garnered extra sanctioning fees. A significant escalation occurred in July 2011 when the WBA created the regular champion designation in the heavyweight division, stripping unified title holder David Haye of his status after he declined the mandatory defense against Vladimir Klitschko, opting instead for a fight against Vladimir Klitschko's brother, Vitaly. This split introduced a dual structure of a super champion for the top rank holder, often involved in cross-organization unifications, and a regular champion for others, ostensibly to reward active fighters, but resulting in 2 parallel world titles per division. And they knew what they was doing. Now you're getting sanctioning fees from 2 people, right? The policy quickly extended to other weight classes, started in heavyweight, but quickly extended to other weight classes, allowing up to 4 champions simultaneously in each division: super, regular, interim, and occasionally contender by the 2010s, with the WBA recognizing as many as 45 champions across 17 divisions at peaks in the late 2010s at any one time. 45 across 17 divisions. Now it's what, like 100 for each sanctioning body? But yeah, that's when it all started. This fragmentation has diluted the prestige of WBA titles, transforming what was once a singular, undisputed mark of elite status dating to the organization's 1921 founding as the National Boxing Association, now into a more accessible accolade that critics argue undermines the concept of a true world champion. And it does. It undermines the concept of a true world champion. How can you have 4 champions, right? Observers note that the abundance of belts potentially yielding over 300 world champion organizations worldwide, often including variants, confuses casual fans and erodes perceived exclusivity, contrasting sharply with eras when divisions had 1 champion per organization, such as the 8 major titles in the 1980s, dominated by figures like Sugar Ray Leonard. So yeah, now with the 17 weight classes and the four main bodies at any one time can have over 300 champions at any one time. 300 champions. Wow. 300. That's ridiculous. Okay, let's continue though. Wow. Al Booger in the building. What's up, Al Booger? Al Booger says 45 like MJ. But salute, Al Booger. How are you there? We talked about the World Boxing Association. We to the part now with the controversies when they started all these supers and interims and regulars and all that. And right now, you can have over the 17 weight classes with the 4 major sanctioning bodies. It could be as much as 300, as many as 300 champions at any one time. 300. Now, boxing analysts attribute much of the dilution to commercial incentives, as each title defense incurs sanctioning fees, typically 2 to 3% of persons. That's the whole thing right there. Incentivizing the creation of additional belts to maximize revenue rather than consolidate prestige. They don't care about no prestige. They're thinking about the pockets. Remember Mauricio Al Booger, when we was looking at on Just Do, when the guy Sean was interviewing him. Mm-hmm. It's obvious what they're doing. They put in the pockets. They didn't worry about no prestige and one champion. They just worried about the monetary part of it. The WBA structure has drawn particular scorn compared to peers like the WBC or IBF, which maintain fewer simultaneous titles, further tarnishing its reputation among purists who view multiple belts as a symptom of sanctioning body proliferation, driven by financial self-interest. Now, efforts to mitigate fragmentation, such as the 2021 title reduction plan that eliminated all interim belts and aimed to unify super and regular statuses, have yielded mixed results, with heavyweights still featuring multiple champions as of August 2025, including both super and regular holders alongside contenders. Despite vacating dozens of titles initially, subsequent additions and failures to enforce unifications have perpetuated the issue, reinforcing perceptions of prestige erosion as the WBA's world champion label applies to fighters of varying caliber, often ranked outside the top 10 globally in unified eras. This ongoing multiplicity has prompted calls from commissions and media for structural reform, highlighting how fragmentation prioritizes volume over merit in a sport historically defined by singular supremacy. That's over with. We will never see that again. Singular, one champion in each weight class? No way. Because they don't want it. We could see it. It could happen immediately. All they gotta do is have some super, like the Super 6, could be a Super 10 or something in every weight class. It could get it down to one within like a year. It's gonna take a while, this tournaments, but the Super 6 took 26 months, but it was designed for 18. Within 2 years, every division could be down to one champion because one man came out of the Super 6 with 2 belts. WBA, WBC, because the IBF and WBO chose not to participate, right? But one man could have came out with all 4 belts if they wanted it to. So 18 months to 2 years, each division could have one champion if they wanted, but that's gonna hurt their pockets. That's way less sanctioning fees, okay? Would you rather get sanctioning fees from 300 champions or 17? It's 17 weight classes. Right now, they're getting sanctioning fees from about 300 champions. So no, we will never see one champion per weight class again. Now, ranking manipulations and selective biases, okay? Ranking manipulations and selective biases. Looking at the WBA today, we're gonna look at a different sanctioning body each week, and all of them would be similar because they all do the same thing. As many champions they can get, that's more sanctioning fees. That's all it boils down to. Oh, okay, I'm trying to go up and get them already at the top. And these pictures are just some WBA championship fights. That's man, I can't remember. That's Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. There was something story behind that somewhere in here. I might be off on my pictures, but ranking manipulations and selection biases. Okay, ranking manipulations and selection bias. Yeah, Mauricio was something else when they Al Booger. Al Booger says, yeah, Mauricio is extremely transparent about it too. Yeah, he ain't trying to hide it. Mauricio said, I'm worried about my bank account. I'm not worried about getting no one champion. But ranking manipulations and selection biases. Okay. So the World Boxing Association's rankings have been criticized for systemic inaccuracies and biases that favor commercial viability and promoter influence over objective merit, such as recent activity, quality of opposition, and win records. Compilers of the rankings, often drawn from regional affiliates, have been accused of lax oversight, resulting in placements that defy empirical standards of fighter evaluations. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's Jake Paul. Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. This has led to perceptions of selection bias, where marketable or promoter-aligned boxers receive undue elevation, while established pros are overlooked, undermining the rankings' role in ordering title contention. A stark example occurred in June 2015 when the WBA ranked deceased Yemeni junior flyweight Ali Rami at number 11, despite his death on May 23, 2015, and a minimal career of 4 wins against unverified regional opponents in 2014. This error highlighted fundamental flaws in the verification process. They had a man that had died ranked, with ESPN columnist Dan Raphael describing it as utterly and absolutely indefensible, and stating he holds no respect or regard for the WBA's ranking committee due to repeated such lapses. The incident suggested either gross negligence or deliberate inaction to maintain inflated lists that enable more sanctioning opportunities across the organization's multiple title tiers. Yeah. More recently, in July 2025, the WBA elevated influencer boxer Jake Paul to number 14 in the cruiserweight division, following his win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a fighter with a 4-5 record in his prior 9 fights and limited elite opposition. And they had Jake Paul at 14, right? Jake Paul. Okay. Active contenders like Craig Parker, demoted to number 15, labeled the decision disgusting, okay, arguing it bypassed merit in favor of Paul's publicity value and pay-per-view draw, right? The placement, which positioned Paul ahead of professionals with stronger resumes, prompted an internal review, but underscored biases towards celebrity-driven matchups that generate fees, as the WBA has historically expanded ranking to accommodate such fighters despite sparse competitive pedigree. It had Jake Paul at 15. Jake Paul shouldn't even have been in the top 100, right? Critics, including boxing journalists, contend these manipulations stem from the WBA's revenue model, where broader and less rigorous rankings facilitate interim and regional titles, drawing sanctioning fees from promoters who steer favorite fighters into contention paths. This has perpetuated a cycle where rankings serve commercial ends rather than causal predictors of divisional hierarchy, eroding trust among stakeholders who view them as rigged tools for governance evasion. Now, commercial motivations and corruption allegations. Commercial motivations and corruption allegations. That's Rowley and Barroso. Perfect. Commercial motivation and corruption allegations. And see that Rowley and Barroso on the screen. Corruption allegations. Now the World Boxing Association, and that was WBA. I think it was wasn't that Eliminator? No, that was for the title, right? WBA title, I believe. Now the World Boxing Association derives And remember, Barroso was fighting the guy from England. I believe his name was Davis, and knocked him out the first round in a title eliminator. What was that, like 2024? And Barroso still haven't got his title shot yet. But the World Boxing Association derives a substantial portion of its revenue from sanctioning fees levied on title fights, typically amounting to a percentage of the fighters' purses, which incentivizes the creation of additional championship categories to expand the number of sanctioning events, right? In 2024, sanctioning fees accounted for approximately 3/4 of the WBA's income, contributing to a near doubling of overall revenues, underscoring the financial imperative behind maintaining multiple titles per weight class, such as super, regular, and interim variants. Critics, including prominent figures like Floyd Mayweather Jr., argue that this proliferation dilutes title prestige while systematically increasing fee collection opportunities, as each new belt enables more fights to qualify for official status and associated payments. Allegations of corruption within the WBA have centered on manipulations in rankings and sanctioning decisions to favor specific promoters and fighters, often linked to financial incentives. In 2022, a deposition revealed claims that the WBA accepted payments in exchange for elevating boxers' rankings, prompting accusations of bribery from consultants tied to promoters like Greg Cohen Promotion. Historical patterns of favoritism toward influential figures such as Don King have been documented, with the organization accused of adjusting mandates and belts to accommodate promoter preferences, thereby securing ongoing sanctioning revenue streams. Further scrutiny involves nepotism in leadership, as the presidency has remained within the Mendoza family for decades. Yet the current president, Gilberto Mendoza Sr. from 1963 to 1982, and his son, Gilberto Mendoza Jr., since 2015, and he just got elected for another 5 years in 2025 to 2030. So, they did have somebody else in between the two, but the father went from 63 to 82, and the son from 2015, and now he's going to be in office till 2030. This raises concerns over entrenched conflicts of interest, right, that prioritize organizations' continuity over impartial governance. In 2024, BoxRec, a leading independent boxing database, revoked the WBA's status as a recognized sanctioning body, citing unresolved conflicts of interest, including biased judging panels, where officials had personal ties to executives, as seen in cases involving family connections and controversial scorecards. These incidents, while not resulting in formal convictions, have fueled broader critiques of the WBA's governance as commercially driven at the expense of competitive integrity. Okay, so let's look at some reform effort. Get some reform effort. Okay, that's effort. Nothing got reformed. Reform effort. Because if anything, it's gotten worse. There's Lara and Danny Garcia, another WBA title fight. Ursula and Larry, Danny Garcia. I think Lara still has the WBA at 160, right? Now, announcement and phases of title reduction plan. Just a plan, because nothing came out of it. In August 2021, the WBA announced a comprehensive plan to reduce the proliferation of world titles across its divisions. prompted by a letter from the Association of Boxing Commissions criticizing the multiplicity of belts as misleading to fans and detrimental to the sport's integrity, alongside internal financial pressure from sanctioning fees. WBA President Gilberto Mendoza emphasized that the organization would permanently eliminate access to excess titles, progressively phasing out the flexibility that allowed for interim, regular, and super designations in favor of a single champion per weight class, where feasible. Where feasible, it's going to be feasible everywhere. One man being a champion, what does it mean where feasible? That's just saying we're not going to do it. Where feasible. Okay, instead of saying we favor a single champion per weight class where feasible, should be we favor a single champion per weight class, but we're not going to do it. We favor it, but it ain't happening. Okay, that's pretty much what they're saying. Now, the plan's first phase commenced immediately with the elimination of all interim championships enacted by a resolution on August 25th, 2021, which vacated 11 such titles across the 17 male divisions. Affected fighters, including Daniel Dubois, heavyweight, and Chris Eubank, middleweight, were reclassified as mandatory challengers to the primary title holders, rather than stripped entirely, aiming to streamline contention without abrupt disruption. This step directly advanced the reduction effort by consolidating active belts and reducing the total number of recognized champions from over 30 to approximately 20 at the time. Wow. It went from 30 to 20. Big deal, from 30 to 20. And then it'll be at 20 for the next 50 years. Now, subsequent phases targeted the unification of super and regular champions through mandatory fights ordered by the WBA Championships Committee, with resolutions issued on a division-by-division basis to resolve dual title scenarios. For instance, super champions were required to defend against regular champions, with the victor retaining a unified title and the loser potentially elevated or relegated based on activity and merit. By mid-2022, the process yielded single champions in 10 of 17 divisions, including cruiserweight and welterweight, while ongoing committee reviews addressed remaining splits. The effort extended to secondary regular belts, which were systematically vacated or unified, reducing their response to 5 divisions by July 2023. These phases were supported by updated internal rules mandating defenses within specified periods to prevent stagnation. But there's still like 100, 200 champions throughout boxing. So I don't see anything that was accomplished. The implementation status and criticisms as of 2025, as of the present, for 2025, 2026, okay? The WBA's title reduction initiative, launched in August 2021 with the cancellation of all interim championships, initially progressed by consolidating secondary regular belts and limiting multiple title holders to 4 weight divisions by early 2024. This reduced the overall proliferation of belts, addressing long-standing complaints about diluted prestige. However, implementation stalled thereafter, with the organization reinstating an interim title in the super welterweight division for the August 3rd, 2024 belt between Virgil Ortiz and Tim Tszyu, signaling a reversal. They were supposed to be getting rid of the interims, but they started renaming people as interim champions. By mid-2025, further encroachments included the awarding of gold belts to fighters via belts against low-ranked or inactive opponents, such as Muhammad Wasim's June 2025 knockout of 300th ranked Winston Orono for the bantamweight gold title, and Noel Reyes Cepeda's win over 44-year-old Lihoma Cermino for the super bantamweight gold. Okay, so they just gave it another name. Instead of calling it interim, they started calling it gold. Right? So I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. To me, it seemed like nothing changed. They said they was getting rid of the interim belts, but they just started calling them gold belts. As of September 2025, divisions like bantamweight featured 3 concurrent champions: Antonio Vargas, world; Seiya Tsutsumi, super. He was in recess, and guess what? Wasim was the gold. So instead of having a regular, super, and interim, they got a regular, super, and gold now. With a 4th interim title planned for Nonito Donaire versus Andres Campos, and they already got a 4th interim plan. So they really didn't get rid of the interim, they really added another one, gold. That's what I'm seeing. Now, official resolution through October 2025 continue to recognize these layered statuses without unification mandates, indicating incomplete adherence to the phase reduction outlined in 2021. Actually, it seemed like they added a belt. Criticism centered on the WBA's prioritization of sanctioning fees and promotional partnerships over structured reform, with revenues from fees comprising 3/4 of income in 2024 amid Saudi-backed events. Okay, that's something I had to write down. I'm gonna have to ask Turki Al-Sheikh about when I interview him. Okay. Observers from specialized boxing outlets note that this incentivizes title multiplication, as each belt generates separate sanctioning revenue, undermining the plan's goal of 1 champion per division. President Gilberto Mendoza has acknowledged implementation challenges, but defended ongoing adjustments as necessary for activity, though detractors argue such rationales mask commercial self-interest, perpetuating the alphabet soup of titles that erode fan trust and competitive integrity as of late 2025. Yeah, Gilberto Mendoza is just as bad as Mauricio. Just as bad as Mauricio. Special programs and belt. Yeah, Mendoza is just as bad as Mauricio. Mendoza of the WBA. Yes, that's bad. Special programs and belts now. Man of Triumph Initiative. The Man of Triumph Initiative, launched by the WBA in 2015, recognizes outstanding achievements in high-profile fights through a custom bronze trophy and specialized championship belt. The program debuted ahead of the Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao fight on May 2nd, 2015. Billed as the fight of the century, where the victor received the inaugural Man of Triumph trophy, a 16-inch bronze sculpture depicting Ray's fist alongside a gold-plated WBA Super Championship belt, while the loser was awarded a comparable silver-plated version. Subsequent iterations of the initiative extended the Man of Triumph designation to customized WBA Super Champion belts for other marquee events, emphasizing artistic and material enhancements to distinguish them from standard titles. For instance, in 2021, Manny Pacquiao was granted the Man of Triumph Rhodium Champion belt as part of honors for his career accomplishments, including his status as an 8th Division World Champion. The belts feature engraved plates referencing the Man of Triumph moniker, derived from the original trophy, and are reserved for fights involving WBA championships with significant commercial historical impact. Give me for a moment, please. Now, other recognition and development programs. The WBA operates the WBA Future Champions Program, launched in 2023 to identify and promote emerging boxing talent through organized events featuring amateur and early pro fights. This initiative provides regulated competitions, media exposure, and institutional support for young fighters, with events held in countries including Colombia, Panama, Venezuela, Brazil, and Chile as of 2025. Okay, and finally, we have international relations, final category. And we're gonna get some link time after that. International relations. That's the final category. Is Christy Martin, the coal miner's daughter. International relations, though. What's up, Unconquest? Appreciate you. Okay, international relations. Partnership with International Boxing Association, the IBA. Now, the WBA and the International Boxing Association, the IBA, formalized a collaboration agreement on November 28, 2022, aimed at bridging amateur and pro boxing through joint programs for athletic development, referee training, and regulatory alignment. The pact outlined 10 key initiatives, including the promotion of amateur boxing, facilitation of transitions for elite amateurs to professional ranks, and shared standards for officials to ensure consistency across competitions. This agreement was signed by WBA President Gilberto Jesus Mendoza and IBA President Umar Kremiev, with both organizations emphasizing mutual benefits for global boxing governance and talent pipelines. Give me for a minute. Okay, let's finish this up so we can get some link time in here. Everybody's welcome to hit the link. Okay, so subsequent efforts under the partnership have focused on practical implementations, such as joint certification courses for coaches and trainers. In October 2024, the WBA launched a trainer's course endorsed by the IBA, commencing on October 8th, 2025, which integrated IBA's theoretical frameworks with WBA's professional practical applications to standardize coaching methodologies. Similarly, referees and official development programs advanced in September 2024, with IBA providing pro exposure opportunities in consultation with the WBA, harmonizing technical regulations for events like WBA sanctioned fight and IBA Champions Nights. Okay, I'm gonna put the link in while I'm finishing this. So it's the IBA logo right there. I miss Christy Martin. And dynamics with the other sanctioning bodies. Finish it up right there. Dynamics with the other sanctioning bodies. There they are. WBC is next week. Yeah, we're going to get on them about their nonsense. Mauricio, don't miss that one. He's next week. Now, the WBA coexists in a competitive framework with the other primary pro boxing sanctioning bodies, WBC, IBF, and WBO, where each independently sanctions world titles across 17 weight divisions, often resulting in 4 concurrent champions per class and fragmentation of the sport's prestige. 4 concurrent championship players. How about 200? This structure stems from historical divergence, including the WBC's formation in 1963 as a splinter from the WBA, which had just changed from the NBA, amid disagreements over champion validations and promotional influences, which entrenched rival sanctioning practices. The WBO, established in 1988, similarly positioned itself as a rival to the established trio by aggressively expanding recognition and title opportunities. That's why the others didn't recognize the WBO for like 16 years. Okay? Yeah, they didn't get really recognized as a major sanctioning body until 2004. 2004. And they came in 1988. Only took the IBF like 2 years to get recognized. Yep. Because what the IBF did, they came in and they handed out titles to some big names like Holmes, Hagler, a couple other people, right? The WBO didn't do that. And they came in causing disturbance. Okay, so here we go. Let me get the link. But we're going to cover all of them. Tomorrow is Paul the Punisher Williams, life and career. Okay? Yeah. This should be a good one. Paul was matchup nightmare at 147. He had that Thomas Hearn size and southpaw, right? Always had the height and reach advantage, but he had that accident on the motorcycle. Ended his career. Yep. Lloyd said, Paul is out. I don't know if Paul would have beat Floyd, but that would have been a very intriguing fight to see how Floyd would have dealt with that height and reach. And plus, he was a southpaw too, you know? Yeah. Yes. I think Zerdo is fighting tomorrow, right? And then he got Benavidez in May. So wow. Yeah. Okay, let me see here. There you go, messing up. There we go. All right. Okay. There's the link. Then we'll keep going over this until, you know. Okay, so yeah, where was I? Yeah. Cooperative efforts have occasionally bridged these rivalries between these sanctioning bodies, particularly to facilitate title unifications that consolidate belts from multiple bodies. WBA regulations explicitly commit to minimizing compatibility with other organizations for such fights, allowing super champion status for WBA title holders who also claim belts from the WBC, IBF, or WBO. It's instituted in 2001 when the WBA equated WBO prestige to that of its counterparts. In October 2021, the presidents of all 4 bodies convened to explore standardized rankings, mandatory defenses, and increased unification fights, signaling intent for alignment despite persistent autonomy. Earlier precedents include a joint WBC-WBA-IBF agreement in Cancun, Mexico, the first of its kind, aimed at collaborative sanctioning protocols, though implementation has remained limited by competing financial incentives from sanctioning fees. Now, the WBA and the WBC did come together on that Super 6 in 2009 and 2011, yeah. That was a joint venture between them and Showtime. All the fights were on Showtime. And the winner of the tournament was guaranteed to come out of with the WBA, WBC. The WBC actually had to strip the German guy, I forgot his name, because he had the WBC belt in the tournament, right? And then he got hurt and had to leave the tournament. But the WBC had to strip him because the winner of the tournament was guaranteed to come out of it with the WBA, WBC. So the WBC stripped him. I can't think of his name. So I think Carl Froch ended up winning it in the tournament. And then the final, I think Andre Ward had the WBA and Froch had the WBC, or vice versa. But yeah, that's how it ended up. It actually had to strip, I can't think of his name. Starts with an L. He was from Germany. And yeah. So they could do that nowadays. All four of them could have tournaments in each weight class and get it down to one champion. Might take a while, but it can be done. If they wanted to do it, that is. That's the key. They have to want one champion in each weight class, okay? And that's the question. And the answer is no. Do they want one champion in each weight class? No. Then they will be getting one, sanctioning. Each of them will be getting sanctioning fees from one person. And if I was a fighter, I wouldn't want all four belts. I don't want to pay 4 different bodies sanctioning fees. I would probably get stripped because I wouldn't pay none of them anything. I'm getting in there, putting my life on the line, but I got to pay you sanctioning fees. Yeah, but this was the German boxers. Then he got stripped in the Super 6 when he got injured and had to leave the tournament. He couldn't take that belt with him because it was in the contract. The winner of the tournament had the WBA and WBC belts at the end of the tournament. His name was not Arthur Abraham. No, it was another one. I should just ask for all fighters in the Super 6. Yeah, Arthur Abraham was German too, but I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about, there we go. Mikkel Kessler. I think he's from Denmark. He's not German. I think he's from Denmark. Yeah, I was talking about Mikkel Kessler. Yeah. So it was Andre Ward, Carl Froch, Arthur Abraham, Andre Dirrell, Mikkel Kessler, and Jermaine Taylor. Was the original 6. Ward, Froch, Abraham, Dirrell, Kessler, Taylor. Was the original 6. And then Kessler and Taylor Dirrell. 3 ended up leaving. Dirrell, Kessler, and Taylor, but one didn't get replaced. They brought in Alan Green and Glenn Johnson. Kessler and Taylor were replaced. They didn't replace Dirrell. Okay. And then Alan Johnson. Glenn Johnson got a good draw coming in because he had to have like 3 fights in the first round, and Kessler had already fought 2 fights in the first round, so Taylor came in and replaced Kessler. He only had to fight 1 time, and he was in the semifinal, right? where the rest of them had 3 fights in that first round. Yeah, he got a good draw, but he still ended up losing. I think he had to fight, I don't know whether it was Andre Ward or Carl Froch in the semifinal. I think it might have been Carl Froch. Ward might have fought Abraham. But yeah, that was a good tournament. And it don't have to be 6. It could be 10, 12. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely have all the fighters with belts as part of it. And then add all the top contenders, the top 10 contenders or something, and fight it out. This took 26 months. It was scheduled for 18, but with the injuries and, it was going to take longer than it's scheduled for, but only 8 extra months, which wasn't bad, okay? Took from 2009 to 2011. So you figure it's 20, if the tournament started this year, 2026, by 2028, you could have one champion in each division. All of them. Mm-hmm. But they was fighting like 5 months apart, 4 or 5 months apart. So, but it's boxing. It ain't like baseball where you got a series and play a game every day or one day in between the games to travel or whatever. No, it's boxing. So it's gonna be spread out, but it can be done. But like I was saying, the question is, do they want one champion in each weight class? No, they don't. So we won't see that. Okay. We will not see a super anything, because that's gonna mess with their sanctioning fees. If anything, we'll see more titles. Like the WBA was talking about getting rid of some titles, and all they did was change it from interim to gold, seemed like to me. And then they got rid of some interims, and then all of a sudden they started naming more interims. And they added a gold title. So yeah, they don't want it, money is the main thing. Follow the money in boxing. So we just have to be satisfied with 300 different champions, because that's how we're going to get it. Now, tensions persist between these sanctioning bodies due to divergent governance, with the WBA facing particular scrutiny for title proliferation, recognizing up to 55 champions across divisions. And this was as of 2021, okay? And, exceeding their peers through categories like regular, interim, and super, which dilutes perceived legitimacy and hampers cross-body unifications. Personal and structured feuds, such as the protracted rift between WBO President Francisco Valcarcel and WBC leadership, have historically obstructed broader mergers or standardized unifications. In August 2024, BoxRec, a leading boxing database serving as an unofficial record keeper since 2016, withdrew recognition of the WBA amid allegations of conflicts of interest, including attempts to supplant established rankings, underscoring credibility strains in interorganizational dynamics. As of 2025, relations emphasize rivalry over consolidation, with unifications occurring sporadically by promoter-driven fights rather than the systemic reform, perpetuating the alphabet soup of titles. Okay, there you have it, the World Boxing Association. It's more bad than good in it, but WBC next week, and tomorrow is Paul the Punisher Williams. Got a big week next week too. We got Cornerman Monday, brought to you by Thomas Hill. Then we're gonna do something on the Olympics, history of the Olympics and boxing in the Olympics Tuesday, and then Thursday is going to be the WBC, and then we'll have our profile Friday. Yep. And yeah, we got can't get over Zerto. Because, most fighters got a big fight like Benavidez coming up. They're not fighting nobody else to put that in jeopardy. But yeah, I believe it's tomorrow. Let me see. Let's take a look at the schedule. We got like 10, 15 minutes. We got to go at 4 today, for sure. It's 14. I'm getting ready to take that link out of there before somebody hit it. Been in there 15 minutes. I got to go at 4. We'll get to cooking, man. It'll be 6 o'clock. I hit my own link. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Boxing schedule. And won't move. All right. We got Just Do Boxing coming up in about 14 minutes. Something like that. Okay. Let's see. Tomorrow is the 16th. Okay. I'll try to pull the schedule up. You get it? Go out and come back in. Okay. Try this again. There we go. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow is the 16th, right? Tim Tszયુ's brother's fighting. Nikita. He got another brother. Nikita is the younger brother. He's at middleweight. 160. He's fighting tomorrow. Nikita Tszyu. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. That's in Australia. And Will Flores. In a minute now. They must have a misprint because I don't see Zerto anymore. I know I saw him last week. I should have knew better than that. But anyway, Tim Tszયુ's brother is fighting tomorrow against Michael Zarafa. That should be pretty good. In Australia, too. Yeah. If you got a couple, Manuel Flores, we got a couple cards tomorrow on Friday. Then Albert Gonzalez, he was on the list I was talking about yesterday, remember? Albert Gonzalez. It was another guy that we covered yesterday that's in action tomorrow, too. Saturday. Yeah. Raymond next weekend and Andy Cruz. Ooh. We've been waiting on that one. Israel Madrimov on the card. Yeah, we've been waiting on that one. Andy Cruz. Omari Jones. We talked about him yesterday too. He's on that card. Okay. And then the following week, Shakur and T.O., Keyshawn and Jermaine Ortiz. That's shaping up like a good card. We got Carlos Adames on there and Austin Ammo Williams and Bruce Carrington, Shushu against Carlos Castro. That could be a tough one for Shushu. And that's for a title. Vacant WBC 126. Who vacated that? Shushu going for a title. Vacant WBC. The full regular title at 126. Wow. And the original Big Baby on there. That's a great card. The original Big Baby on there. Gerald Miller. This is all the Teofimo and Shakur card. Wow. Great card, man. Wow. And then we got Dan Azias on the same day. And that's not it. On the same day, we got Bakram with Zeliab. I thought. I don't see Bakram anymore. Oh yeah, there he is. He's fighting at day 2 on the zone. Yeah. Adam Azim. Man, it's like 5 cards that weekend. That day. Xander. I don't know what network that is. Shakur and Teofimo is also the zone. So the zone got 2 cards that day. Wow. Interesting. Okay, I hope everybody enjoyed today's show though. We getting ready to get up out of here now. Just Do Boxing is up next in these YouTube streets. Paul Williams tomorrow. Paul the Punisher Williams. Life and career. Welterweight, southpaw, tall, rangy. Matchup nightmare. But then he had that motorcycle accident, ended his career. Supposed to be doing okay now, but we're going to find out tomorrow. All about Paul. His early life, amateur career. We're going to go through his resume, his big fights. Not all of it, but his main fights. Okay, I want Paul Williams. Here we go. There's Paul in the wheelchair. Yeah, he had a terrible motorcycle accident. Ended up paralyzed from the waist down. Yeah. And he was 5th in the pound for pound ranking, like late in the 2010s, top 5, yeah. He was that good. Paul was southpaw. He was 6'2" tall. Okay. And they had a reach. Oh my goodness, 198. 78 inches. At welterweight, right? And he fought at welterweight, junior middleweight, and middleweight. But imagine that, 147. He was up there in Tommy Hearns' range. I think Hearns was 6'1". Paul was 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Wow. But we're going to get into him tomorrow. Paul Williams. Don't miss it. Al Booger, The Drunk Irishman, Unconquest, Thomas Hill, Pennywise, all the way from Africa, Mike Rim, R.P., Ray Patterson, and Miss Cass. Just Do Boxing is coming up next. Next Thursday will be the WBC. And we're going to get on them, just like we got on the WBA today, with their nonsense. But they give us the boxing that we love, though, so. They don't give us everything we want, but they give us boxing. But appreciate everybody. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's The Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Everybody have a great afternoon. Salute Mike Mazik,